Three profit drivers you can fix right now. When you run an e-commerce business, it is really a numbers business. And the first thing people go is, I'm Matt, but I don't like numbers. I'm not a numbers person. I'm creative. I like colors and branding and writing really cool optimized listings and creating really cool images. I don't like numbers though. But the thing is, when I hear people say that, what they're thinking of is like trigonometry, calculus, algebra, even. The good news about numbers in this business is if you got through second grade, then you know all the math that it's going to take to know the numbers in your e-commerce business, right? We do a little bit of addition and subtraction. Occasionally we multiply and divide, not even that much. That's it. A lot of what numbers means in e-commerce business in your data is looking at two numbers and trying to figure out which one's bigger or which one's smaller, right? And that's second grade math stuff, right? You can figure out which one's bigger, which one's smaller. But it's so important because all these little numbers add up. And if they add up in terms of your expenses to be more than your income, then you no longer have a business that's making any money. And if you used to have a little profit, but then you decide you're going to borrow money to buy more inventory, the cost of that interest could be the difference between being profitable or being unprofitable. Or if you're paying more for a product because shipping costs went up or tariffs got involved, that can be the difference between profitable and unprofitable. And you really have to know those numbers to be able to make those decisions and make sure you stay on the right side of the profitability line. But one way or the other, you really want to have accurate, current, and accrual-based financials so you know what those costs are. And the more accurate you can be, the better decisions you can make. But not knowing your numbers really costs money. So the key metrics I think you should be tracking at minimum in owning an e-commerce business is your cost of goods sold as a percent of income. That's the single biggest controllable expense that you have. You have control over that. You want to really focus on getting that as low as possible as a percent of your income. But the only way you're going to know if you're being successful with that is tracking it. Fees as a percent of income, you have less control over that, but still there is some things you can do in terms of managing your inventory quantities to help that squeak out some more profit. Of course, ad spend as a percent of income, the less you can spend on ads and still profitably make sales, the better. Of course, Amazon is entirely focused the other way, right? They want to take every last dollar you have, either between their fees in fulfillment or their fees in their ad spend, right? If you remember, not that many years back, there wasn't even ads, right? You could just make it on organic listings. And now it's almost impossible to make it without ads if you're selling your own brand, but you want to really make sure you're controlling that cost or it's just going to eat your profit. So all those ad related metrics, keep a close eye on. Don't let some agency talk you into spending a ton of money if you can't see the results and you're not sure that every single dollar is working hard for you and making you at least something back. And then, keep an eye on those wasted ad expenses, all those software subscriptions you signed up for, you're not using anymore, the courses, memberships, groups, masterminds that you signed up for that you never even attended or didn't really help at all, the SKUs that you decided to add that you aren't doing anything for you, costing you money, the inventory that, you lost and haven't gotten reimbursed for, all that stuff, the unsellable returns. Make sure you're minimizing that as much as possible and really keeping a close eye on it. That is directly accounting for whether or not you have dollars in your pocket at the end or whether you have to keep dumping money into this business. And business only gets more challenging over time as there's more competition. So it's more and more important to keep a close eye on this stuff. Ultimately, these all feed into what is your profit margin. And you may be surprised, or you may be one of these people yourself that I talk to all the time. And I say, what's your profit margin in your business? And they go, I'm honestly not sure. You're not sure. What do you mean you're not sure? This is a serious problem, right? If you're putting all this time and effort and money into this business, you ought to know that it's paying you for that. For every dollar you put in, you ought to get at least $1.10 or $1.15 back. If for every dollar you put in, you're only getting 90 cents back, eventually you're going to run out of money, right? And that's not going to be a good place to be. You're going to put all the money in with nothing to show for it. So you want to make sure that for every dollar you put in, you're getting more than $1 back out, and not years down the road, but in a timely fashion so you can continue to invest in growth and new products and marketing and an eventual exit that pays you for all your hard work. But you have to know that's there. If you don't know that's there, stop right now and figure out a plan to figure out if you're making money or not. Because if you're not sure, the chances are you're probably not. Or if you are, it's just by luck, but you want it to be because you have a process and a system in place for that. Good data is better than a gut feeling or a bank balance or a hunch or seat of your pants clients or whatever else. Good data is the heart of this online selling business that you've gotten into. And so you really got to make it your focus before you do anything else to make sure you have good data. Now, if you do that right, you can definitely add profitability to the business by cutting things out and improving what you've got. If you don't, again, chances are it's not going to go well.